Every morning you do something that no other creature on Earth does. You cover yourself. You pick up a layer of material that did not grow on your body. You wrap it around yourself. You change it depending on the weather, the day, the occasion. You own dozens of these layers. You spend money on them. You judge other humans by them. And your pet watches this ritual every single morning. Your dog watches you pull a shirt over your head and stares. Your cat watches you button a jacket and looks mildly offended. Your parrot watches you tie your shoes and says nothing but clearly has opinions. Because here is the thing. To every other animal on Earth, what you are doing makes no sense at all. Animals are born with their covering, fur, feathers, scales, shell. It is attached, it grows, it is part of them. The idea of removing your outer layer every night and putting on a completely different one every morning is, from an animal's perspective, one of the strangest things a living creature can do. So what do they actually think is happening? To understand how animals experience clothes, we first need to understand something important about how animals identify each other. Animals do not use names, they do not use faces the way humans do. They identify each other primarily through smell, sound, and pattern. And clothes completely interfere with all three. When you wear different clothes every day, you present a slightly different sensory profile to the animals around you. Different fabric smells, different textures, different visual patterns, different colors. From a pure animal recognition standpoint, you are not entirely the same creature you were yesterday. Your dog navigates this mostly through smell. It can find you under 10 layers of winter clothing because your personal scent bleeds through fabric. But the fabric itself adds layers of new chemical information that your dog has to process on top of finding you. Your cat uses a combination of smell, sound, and movement pattern. A dramatic outfit change, different shoes that make different sounds, a coat that rustles differently can cause a cat to pause, tilt its head, and reassess who exactly just walked in. You are recognizable but slightly different every single day. And different animals have very different theories about what is going on. Dogs have lived with clothed humans for thousands of years. They have had time to develop a relationship with clothes. And that relationship is complicated. A dog can tell a lot from your clothes before you even open your mouth. Work clothes smell different from home clothes. Gym clothes smell dramatically different from anything else. A coat means going outside. Shoes mean leaving. A particular jacket might mean a walk is coming. Dogs learn these associations with extraordinary precision. In this sense, your clothes are a communication system that you never intended to build, but your dog reads fluently. But here is where it gets interesting. Dogs do not entirely understand that clothes are separate from you. Research suggests that dogs associate clothing with the person who wears it so strongly that a piece of your worn clothing carries your social presence. It is why leaving a worn t-shirt with a puppy in a new home can genuinely calm its anxiety. The shirt is not you, but to the dog, it carries enough of you that it counts. So what does a dog think clothes are? Probably not a conscious question it is asking, but if it were, the answer might be something like this. Clothes are the outer part of the person, the part that changes, the part that signals what is about to happen, the part that smells like them but also smells like the strange outside world they keep disappearing into. Not a fashion choice, a behavioral data stream. Cats have a very different relationship with clothes. Cats are territorial about texture and scent. Your clothes occupy their space, carry your scent, and often end up on their preferred sleeping surfaces. To a cat, your clothes are not primarily something you wear, they are primarily something that smells like you and can be slept on. This is not laziness on the cat's part. It is a form of social bonding that cats normally perform with other cats by rubbing and mixing scents. When your cat sleeps on your jumper, it is doing something socially meaningful in cat terms. But what does a cat think when you are actually wearing the clothes? Cats appear to find the process of getting dressed faintly bizarre. The repeated movements, the things going over the head, the limbs going through holes, none of this matches any natural behavior pattern a cat recognizes. Some cats become briefly concerned when you pull clothing over your head. From their perspective, your head just disappeared, then reappeared. This is not something that happens in nature. And hats. Cats famously distrust hats. A hat changes the silhouette of your head dramatically. To a cat that identifies you partly by the shape of your head, a hat is a minor identity crisis. You but wrong on top. Now move beyond pets and consider what wild animals make of clothed humans. The first thing most wild animals encounter is the smell. Human clothing carries an extraordinary chemical history. Detergent, synthetic fibers, whatever you last cooked, wherever you have been, wild animals encountering a clothed human are not just smelling a person, they are smelling a walking catalog of human civilization. This is part of why many wild animals are warier of clothed modern humans than indigenous communities who have lived in close contact with local wildlife describe. The chemical complexity of modern clothing is genuinely unusual in nature. But visually, clothes create a different problem. Clothes hide the body shape that animals use to assess threat. Natural predators have recognizable silhouettes. A lion looks like a lion. A human in a large winter coat, a backpack, a hat, and boots looks like no silhouette that exists in nature. This makes threat assessment harder for wild animals. They cannot read a clothed human the way they would read a natural predator. The shape is wrong, the outline is inconsistent. The whole visual profile changes completely depending on what you are wearing. A researcher studying wildlife reactions found that the same person wearing bright orange triggered very different animal behavior than the same person wearing muted earth tones. The animals were not reacting to the person. They were reacting to the visual pattern of the clothing. To a wild animal, you are not just a human. You are a human plus whatever visual and chemical information your clothes are broadcasting. Here is something genuinely surprising. Some animals have learned to read human clothing as social information. Not in the sophisticated way humans do, but in a functional way that serves their survival. Crows in Japan have been documented behaving differently toward workers in different colored uniforms. They associate certain uniform colors with threat and others with neutral presence. They are not reading a dress code, they are reading a pattern they have learned to associate with behavior. Elephants in regions with human-wildlife conflict have been shown to respond differently to the clothing of different ethnic groups, specifically distinguishing between groups that historically posed a threat and groups that did not. They were reading clothing color and style as threat assessment data. This is remarkable. These animals are using human clothing as an information source, not because they understand fashion, but because clothing is consistent enough across groups of humans to become a reliable signal. Your clothes are sending messages to animals that you never wrote. And some animals have learned to read them. We think of clothes as personal, as expression, as identity. We spend enormous energy deciding what to wear. We communicate status, personality, mood, and belonging through the layers we put on every morning. Animals do not see any of that. They see a creature that is never quite the same twice, a creature whose outer layer changes constantly, a creature that sometimes smells like a forest, sometimes like a kitchen, sometimes like something no natural environment has ever produced. They see someone whose head occasionally disappears and reappears, whose shape changes with the weather, whose feet make different sounds depending on which covering they chose that morning. Your dog does not know what fashion is, but it knows your coat means outside and your slippers mean staying. Your cat does not know what a hat is, but it knows something is different about your head today. And maybe that is the most interesting thing about clothes and animals. We invented clothing to protect ourselves, to signal to each other, to express who we are. But somewhere along the way, the animals around us started reading our clothing too. Not for fashion, for information. And the message they are reading has nothing to do with what we thought we were saying.